Welcome to Jack and Randall with Jack Ingram. Coming up in 2 minutes is episode 27 featuring two-time Grammy award-winning singer-songwriter and producer, the king of Americana, Jim Lauderdale. Jim has recorded over 30 records, including collaborations with Dr. Ralph Stanley and Buddy Miller. His songs have been recorded by dozens of artists, including the likes of George Strait, Gary Allan, George Jones, Vince Gill, and the Dixie Chicks. Jack has also recorded several songs he co-wrote with Jim. Provided in the description are bios, social media, and website links, including a link to access jackandaroundshow.com. Before we begin, here's a 1-minute preview of today's episode, followed by a quick word from Jack on behalf of our sponsor, Lone Star Dry Goods.
You know, one day you're knocking on a door trying to get a bluegrass deal. The next day you're knocking on a door trying to get a country deal.
The next day I'm knocking on a door trying to get an opera. No, I'm kidding about that.
But you could.
No. I'm not. No, I can't sing opera. Come on.
Hello?
I can't do that. And then we wrote 3 songs that night.
Yeah, I would and work this out.
And we'll get back to Loveville.
Let's get back to
Loveville.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got to cut that song. Got a call and said, hey, yesterday Tony Brown cut 2 songs on George Strait for this movie.
Did you write Where the Sidewalk Ends and King of Broken Hearts by yourself?
I wrote King of Broken Hearts by myself.
And it's not like you didn't find your wheelhouse that you helped build. You know, the Americana world and this genre that you kind of helped create. Go on.
And I would joke, someday they're going to have like a festival and it'll be out in this field somewhere and Americana is going to have like a big festival, because I had no idea that there would really take off.
Jackin' Around Show is presented by Lone Star Dry Goods, curated collection of handcrafted quality goods, the truly unique Americana vibe. Visit Lone Star Dry Goods in person, right here at the world headquarters in historic downtown Abilene, Texas, just west of Fort Worth and Willow Park, or online at LoneStarDryGoods.com.
Jack, is that one of those anniversary model Gretches?
I don't even know. I got it 20 years ago.
Damn it. See, I was joking. I gotta say, you know, it's funny. I used to have a gal that worked for me, and she took a bunch of my guitars to Gruen to get them appraised. And then we stopped working together. And then later when I was looking for that guitar, I could never find it. And I was just wondering if you got that at Gruen's.
Nope. Got it at Rockville in Dallas. So how many did you lose?
A couple. Yeah, that and an ES 335 I'd gotten in college, the 1964 335.
I've got guitars spread out between here and Nashville. You know, 3 or 4 different times I've left a guitar in Nashville at a friend's house to have a guitar when I'm there.
Yeah.
And then they move and hadn't talked to them in a couple years.
Yeah.
Like one day I'll just go on a scavenger hunt
for
town.
Or if you ever loan one to somebody, it's like, hey, you know what? You like that one? You need a guitar? You take it for a while. And then later it's like, I can't remember who I loaned that to.
Right.
It's happened to me.
But I've gotten guitars in the same, like I've gotten that one. That's Jerry Jeff Walker's guitar.
Mm.
Damn. He had me come play. He used to do a festival, like a trip to Belize for his fans kind of deal. And I was 25, 26, and he invited me to come be his guest. And I mean, that was a big deal.
Sure.
Would have been today too.
Yeah.
But, and I made a rookie mistake and didn't undo the strings, didn't loosen the strings on the flight. And it was not pressurized playing, I guess. And I opened my guitar to play the first gig and the headstock had snapped.
Yeah.
And he said, here, keep it until you don't need it anymore. That was 20 some years ago. I was like, if he's going to get this back, he's going to have to come get it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Is that a Martin?
It's when Takamine It's before they got sued by Martin.
Okay, because it looks just like it.
They do everything like
and those are good guitars.
It's been great.
Damn, that's Brazilian rosewood too.
Yeah, it's been a sweet guitar. I've put it through the ringer. I've had to re-glue the bridge and do some things to it, but I played that on my last 2 records. Just one of those, just got that thing for me because it's Jerry Jeff.
The neck is so nice too.
Yeah, and the action's really low and it never buzzes.
Wow. I mean, I'm such a conspiracy theorist that I make Alex Jones look like Jon Stewart.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
I'm so far.
You're Antifa. You're close to QAnon.
Right. Yeah. I mean, QAnon is too
they're too soft.
Yeah.
Well, bluegrass, when it comes down to it, is pretty right wing.
It's funny. It is. It's kind of split. It's either right wing, kind of centrist, or like totally like the New York City.
Well, they made that
60s
declaration
guys
kind of in the 70s and 80s when like Newgrass and all that brought Sam and all those dudes brought the left wing.
Yeah.
I mean, bluegrass was pretty conservative.
Yeah.
I mean, and they I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the death, murder, love ballads or not.
No.
You came up in that world.
Yeah.
But were you on the hippie side of it the whole time?
Kind of half. And I had 1 foot in the mushroom patch, 1 foot in the
sawed-off shotgun. 1 foot in the rope.
Yeah. Yeah,
side.
1 foot in the CBD thing. Okay, now are we on? Oh, wait. Okay, now. Yeah, because I have to keep.
And go.
Yeah.
So how have you been, Jim?
Fine.
James Andrew?
Sure.
Is that what it was?
No, it's Russell.
James Russell. That's
Yeah.
What,
Good.
I've been to Lauderdale school the last couple of days. It's hard to keep up.
Well, I bet it's been hard to stay awake.
Well, it's actually not. It's more like I got to revisit my ADD side. I mean, you're
do that daily.
You're musically attention deficit, hyperactive. I wouldn't call it a disorder.
Okay.
It's like I'm following a butterfly.
Hey, I like that.
I mean, honestly, I went to sleep. I've known you we met in 1995, 96.
Yeah.
I was talking to my buddy, Matt, Mr. Toe over here. And he's like, when did y'all meet? I was like, first of all, he goes, it's going to be about 3:00. And I said, okay, I'll be ready by 5. And the only reason I know that is because he goes, how do you know? I go, because I took all of my time lessons from him. But we met. I came to your house.
Yes, actually, that was, and then we wrote 3 songs that night.
Yeah, and that was when you had first moved over there up in that neighborhood where Matches Trace.
Yes, right, Sunset Place.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I found you. I found you in the park. I showed up at whatever time we were supposed to be. I was probably late too, and I guess cell phones were out. Somehow I had or maybe I went to a store and called you or something, and you were doing Tai Chi in the park.
There was a park close by.
Yeah. And then
we went over,
and I remember there was no furniture.
Mm-hmm.
You had a TV tray and a couch and a chair and another TV tray, and we sat there and wrote songs on it.
Yeah. And we got 3 good ones.
Yeah, I think that night we wrote I Would and Work This Out.
And We'll get back to Loveville.
Let's get back to Loveville. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I got to cut that song sometime.
I have a demo
Yeah.
of it somewhere.
Yeah.
I did it with the band I had at that time.
Nice.
Scott Esbeck and Mike McAdam. And Pete was playing drums. My guy Pete. So yeah, man, that's right. We wrote that song. I don't know why I've never put that on one of my records. I need to cut that.
I do too. Let's make a pact.
Okay. I've always wondered if the T is silent. It's not. It's not.
No.
Not the silent. Not that time.
No, it's not.
That's right.
It's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
That is. So, man, I've known you this long, but I was
27 years just about, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? Is my math right? Yeah, if it was 97.
Yeah, so 90, well, it'd been 25 years. Yeah, that's right. Because I was making that, I was writing for Hey You.
Uh-huh.
And God, that's a long time ago.
That is,
Jim.
isn't it? A quarter of a century.
That's right at the beginning for me.
Yeah.
Not for you. You're a little.
Well,
So you came from North Carolina.
Yes. North Carolina, South Carolina, North Carolina, Nashville for 5 months, New York,
Right.
some time in Texas and Atlanta.
Did you spend some time in Austin?
You know, I wanted to move here, and I was living in Dallas for a while. I was doing a play. I was playing banjo and guitar in this play called Cotton Patch Gospel. And I guess we did it off Broadway in New York. I was up in New York doing country and bluegrass music, and that's where I met Buddy Miller. There was this big...
What was the club?
The Lone Star and Sundown Rodeo.
Was that when the Cattlemen's was there?
City Limits. I'm not sure. That might have been after I kind of started going about 82, started traveling. I got in this play, Cotton Patch Gospel. Harry Chapin wrote the music to it. And it was this bluegrass show. And there was one actor, this guy, Tom Key, that played all the characters. And anyway, so I came to Dallas and I wanted to move to Austin. And out here in Bee Cave, my friend Steve Satterwhite, who had a studio in New York, and I'd spend every dime I had doing demos, and his sister lived in Bee Cave. And so he said, go stay with her. She's a realtor. She'll help you, you can find a place. But it was this catch-22. I couldn't get an apartment because I didn't have any credit at all. And I couldn't get any gigs because I didn't have a band. And I didn't have a band because I couldn't get any gigs.
Right.
So, but I really wanted to move here. I came here a whole lot. I had met Kim Wilson of the Fabulous Thunderbirds. I was doing this gig. When I was living here,
what year is this?
Living in Dallas, about 83, 82, I would go see the Fabulous Thunderbirds a lot. And Kim came out to this show. I got hired for this Thrown Together bluegrass gig, opening up for Levon Helm and Rick Danko. And Bob Dylan was there, showed up, and this was the Lone Star. Great, real cool country, all sorts of music. And so Kim was there, and he said, hey, I'd like to produce you. So I thought, finally.
That was in New York?
Yeah, that was in New York. And I thought, finally, it's going to start happening. And but unfortunately we never got to do it. But I love Kim and the Fabulous Thunderbirds.
Right.
But anyhow, to make a long story interminable, I wanted to move to Austin so bad, and it just didn't work out. And I went back to New York for a little while, and then ended up in Los Angeles. And there was a really cool scene going on out there. People, Rosie Flores, Chris Gaffney, Dave Alvin, and I started working with Dwight Yoakam's producer, Pete Anderson. So things started. I had a manager, John Chambotti,
right,
who was hooked in with Nick Lowe and Elvis Costello, two of my favorite guys. And
at the time that all that's happened,
yes, and so
rolling.
Los Angeles, things just caught, great clubs to play in. It was easy to get gigs and great musicians. And Rosie, Dale Watson, and Buddy Miller ended up moving down there
to L.A.
Yeah, he had quit music for a while, and then ended up in San Francisco. He and Julie, and he started playing. He was playing drums, and was playing a little bit of guitar. And so Pete had taken a hiatus from Dwight, and he was playing with me and helping me try to get a record deal. And then he was going to go back out with Dwight. Buddy moved down right at that time. And so it was just great. Donald Lindley, who also moved later to Austin, I got to work with him a lot. Sadly, he passed away a few years ago, but such a great drummer.
Right.
But there was a cool scene, now since Rosie's moved to Austin, Dale lives in Texas. Chris Gaffney sadly passed away. But there were a lot of great folks out there.
Between New York, Nashville, LA, and Texas.
Yeah.
Were you going to try and be an actor?
No, you know what? It's funny. I studied it in college and really liked it a lot, but music was really the driving force. I just didn't have that
everyday wake up and have to do it.
Yeah, I just didn't.
Isn't that funny how
but music was always there. That was what I wanted to do.
That's kind of how you know. I mean, it could be because it's alone. Music and acting is lonely as far as really getting it rolling and getting something to just a foothold, just something to grab onto.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have that every day, gotta go do it.
That's right.
It kind of makes a choice for you.
And when I was doing some shows playing music, it was a great day job, and it was great experience, being in front of an audience. But I felt funny about it because it wasn't my music, And
what were you playing?
Guitar and rhythm guitar and banjo. One show that I did that I thought was going to maybe be a catapult to things was this one called Diamond Studs, and I played Jesse James, and Sean Colvin played my wife. She had come up to New York to sing with Buddy.
Yeah.
Julie left, and Sean came up. He knew her from Austin, and this group called the Red Clay Ramblers, this old timey, pre-bluegrass style type band was in the show too. And I had seen it when I was in high school in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. That's where that show started. And it was like, gosh, I'd love to play banjo in this show someday. So then finally, when it worked out that I got that part, I thought, okay, this is it. Record deal. Here I come. And, but it didn't work out like that. And, during my time in my 20s, and I guess I was 32 or 33 when I finally got a record deal. In those days, getting a record deal was like the ultimate goal.
Yeah, it was it.
And then I thought, once I get a record deal, then I'll be,
I'll finally
touring.
Wake up happy.
Yeah, that's right. And, but, how
many times, I was wondering this the other day, how many times did you go through that process of, okay, now it's going to happen?
Probably about 5 or 6 times.
How many record deals did you go through?
I had 3 major label record deals. 4, actually. Yeah, 4 major label record deals, and they didn't yield the radio hits for me. But it was great to do them. You know what I mean? I mean,
probably
it was disappointing,
Of course.
but at the same time, something good came out of all of them.
yeah, like
You know,
all the things that happen when you're a guy with your kind of talent.
Well, Jack.
Go on. But I mean, I knew your name when I went to town. I mean, it was one of those kinds of things where the next big thing was, oh, yeah, that's great, but did you hear Lauderdale's version of that song or whatever?
No.
One of my favorite bits you have is starting to introduce the band from the first song on. That's a good bit.
Well, I guess I still do that one. Sometimes I pull that bit
Is that
out.
an every night deal?
No, not every night. But
Sometimes they play well.
yeah. But it's funny. I do kind of joke occasionally on stage, but I'm learning to be careful because sometimes when you say things, thinking that, oh, well, they get this, get this is a joke, and then later they don't. Like I was doing a bit a few times where I said, something happened to me, but it was a good lesson to me in not being bitter or angry. And this long story about how I was at this audition to present some songs for a jingle, and it was a big, huge money, and this guy wanted me to play my thing for him, so I did, and he said that was really good, but it looked like he was like wearing a wig and like a fake mustache or something. Then I said, I think I better go to the bathroom before they call me in. And he said, here, I'll show you where it is. And he took me down this windy hallway. And then he said, it's in here. And then I opened the door and he pushed me in. I heard it lock and I was banging on the door, but nobody could hear me. And then the guy let me out the next day, the janitor. I was in the janitor's closet. And then later I heard my song on television. I've heard it some, but my version was 1-877 stars are hid, STARS are hid, 1-877 stars are hid, locate your star today. And then now you hear it daily, the 1-877 cars for kids. And so I got to saying like, but then this lawyer said, no, don't try to sue the guy. It'll make you look bad, because this is a charity thing. And then I started thinking about it and I thought, you know what? People are going to think I'm serious,
That's rough terrain you travel there, Jim.
I did a bit one time where I was talking about, because I Buddy Miller and I have the show that you've done, the Buddy and Jim show.
That's right.
And on Sirius XM. And so I was talking about on stage one time about that Buddy and I, things are tough in the music biz. So we've developed these energy bars, and it's got, like chia seeds and, turmeric and all this kind of stuff. I said, so we're looking for salespeople, and so then after the show, there was this couple and they're waiting and they said, hey, we want to sign up. We want to, I said, what? And they said, we want to, help you sell these. And I said, oh, listen, I was kidding about that, but then they still looked like, no, you weren't kidding. We really want to do this. So anyway, that's a lesson for all of you.
Well, it's funny you say that because that has been the case since I've known you. Like, you're never really quite sure.
Well, let me nip that in the bud now. For the rest of the talk here, I'll be serious.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not going to kid around.
So I'll tell this story to you because he always says that he didn't do it. I had heard, so I think it was the night we wrote 3 songs. For the first 45 minutes, you were on the phone. And I wasn't sure if we were writing a song together.
What was I really?
You were
I really was.
like
or was
you had
I pretending?
It was one of those days where you maybe had had double booked yourself. The whole time your phone kept ringing, you'd be like, and we'd be kind of in that moment where you're throwing out lines, you're not sure if it's good or not, you're not sure really what the song is about yet. And you kept going, hold on. And then you'd be on the phone and then you go, and and then you'd get back on the phone, you go, hold on. The stars or whatever it was. And we trudged through and I kept thinking, is he fucking with me or not? But the song was getting good.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, whatever's happening, this is happening.
Now, yeah. Hi. Well, we're back, Jack. Hi.
If those are the kinds of songs that we write on the phone, I would have done it all night. You know, I mean, hell.
Well, listen, we do, in all seriousness, need to get together to write.
We haven't done it since we wrote.
I mean, that was 25 years ago.
Well, we did
right?
it. And one other time we wrote a song that was on a record of mine called Electric. And it was everything I ever wanted was one lie away. And to be so close now to know there's nothing.
Oh, we wrote that one that night.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So maybe we got 4.
Maybe we got 4 in one night. I'd take 4 songs over a failing relationship any day.
And we're back. Hey,
welcome back to the program.
Yeah. Hi.
So, did you play in high school? And like, were you a young kid, phenom kind of bluegrass kid?
Not phenom, but
were you a bluegrass kid going to all the things?
As many as I could. I'd started playing banjo when I was living in South Carolina, but in one of those summers. And then my last 2 years of high school went up to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and I was just full on like banjo, like as much as I could, going to festivals as much as I could, and really wanted to be a banjo player and be and I didn't start writing till towards really about the end of my senior year in high school, and nothing.
Were you
but
into reading and journaling, or
no, not journaling so much. I mean, I was reading, but just kind of melodies were kind of my thing.
Still are. Those are amazing.
Well,
you're terrible with compliments.
Oh, I don't know about that.
But honestly, I mean, sometimes when I'm listening to your songs and those opening line melodies I go, oh, God, fuck. They're just great.
Well, thank you.
And so you've always been into that.
Yeah, that just kind of has been the natural thing. And I think country singing wise, like bluegrass singing wise, it was kind of Ralph Stanley influenced me a whole lot. And then country wise, George Jones was kind of my main man in a lot of ways, but there's something about the tone of my voice. It was like kind of a little more Buck Owens-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And I really loved Buck as well. But loved all.
But
of
those melodies that your songs, the ones people know, like when you nail a song, it's funny you say that, because the George Jones influence is obvious with those climbing, the roller coaster melodies. But you're right, your voice is not like George Jones.
Right.
It's, you know, it's
No, gosh,
it's straighter.
Nobody can be. You know, the roller coaster thing, it's kind of like my career. You know, the melodies, the roller coaster melodies, it's very...
Without the ups.
But, yeah, you know, lyrics are the thing that I toil over.
Really?
A lot. Yeah.
Do they come quick? I guess not.
No. You know, sometimes I'll have a title, sometimes if I'm lucky.
So when I was listening to, I mean, yeah, the last couple of days, knowing you were coming and being friends with you for so long and a fan, but I realized that at some point you kind of lose touch with the consistency of all the records you've been putting out. And so I just put it on play on Spotify and just let it roll. And it's amazing. It's funny you say that about lyrics, because I wonder if you came into this backwards of what I notice about your song structure. Not that I'm not like a literary structure guy, but you take the form of what country music, the traditional four lines in a verse,
Yeah.
into the chorus, and you turn that on its head a whole lot. Like, and I guess it's because you have a hard time with lyrics.
No, that's just kind of the way melodies come out.
Because
You
a
know
lot
what
of
I mean?
times
And
it's a
then-
stunted verse and then a one line chorus. It's like you're in there kind of doing that.
Well, that's the old martial arts part of me that makes me do that. But I've been so lucky to get to co-write with folks. You know, I wrote a lot with Robert Hunter, that he and Jerry Garcia wrote, you know, most of those Grateful Dead classics. And he was an amazing lyricist. And Harlan Howard, got to write some with him, and Melba Montgomery. And,
Well, that's kind of what I mean, though, because Harlan is much more of a traditional through the
Right.
form of it.
yeah.
And where your melodies jump over creeks, they jump over to this other part of the song, and all of a sudden it all makes sense. But as you're riding along with the song, you're like, where the fuck is he going? And then you land, it's like, oh, that's a good trick. Like, it's really cool. But Harlan wouldn't have taught you that.
No, we would sit around and talk, and then I'd either say, hey, this melody's coming to me. I'm going to put it down on my tape player so I don't forget it. And then he'd go, oh, okay. And then he'd go, you know, play that, you know, play it on your guitar or whatever. And then he'd write a lyric. And Robert Hunter would do that too. I'd go, hey, here's this melody's coming out right now. And then sometimes Harlan would have a lyric, or Robert Hunter would. And Clay Blaker, we wrote a few songs like that. He said, here's a lyric. Frank Dykes, we wrote a lot together, and he would hand me a lyric or call me and say, I've got a smash. And I'd say, what is it? And he'd start reading it. And if the stars were aligned, I'd hear a melody right then and go, hold on. And then sing it in the tape player. And I go, okay, well, what's your chorus? And that happened a few times with Frank. But one time we were writing, and this melody came to me, and then we went down to his kitchen, and I said, do you like that melody? He said, yeah. And I said, what should we call it? And he said, I'm going to get a life. I said, what? I'm going to get it. He said, I'm going to get a life. And so I said, great. And so we wrote it, and I demoed it, and didn't think, you know, it's funny with songs other people do, and I didn't know if anybody ever cut it, but Mark Chestnut cut it. And so you never know,
Right.
you know. I bet that happens to you. Sometimes you write a song and you think, no, it's okay.
And then
It's
all of a
right.
sudden,
and then, people can, for some reason, no pun intended, but it touches a chord,
right?
you know?
Is that when you were working with at Blue Water?
Yeah. Yeah. I was with Blue Water.
Did Frank sign you?
Brownlee Ferguson, who's the owner. Somehow, I think Jody Williams and Roger Sovine, who are with BMI, told me about Brownlee. Brownlee was he was based out of Houston,
Right.
but he opened a Nashville office and was just starting out a publishing company. And so I signed my manager, John Chambodi, said, because some people at that time, and I had just recorded this record for Epic that Pete Anderson did, but it didn't come. It ended up not coming out.
Did it ever come out?
Somebody in Europe or Scotland or somewhere licensed it later and put it out for like 3 years.
Did some of those songs end up on the? What was the first record that got released?
Planet of Love.
Planet of Love.
And I had done a bluegrass record when I lived in Nashville when I was 22 with Roland White.
I just listened to that today.
And he sadly passed away a few months ago. Yeah. And we couldn't get a deal on that record. Or at least I couldn't. I sent tapes around and the companies just said,
what year was that? 80?
79.
So were you going to traditional bluegrass places trying to get a deal?
Yeah. And then we lost the tapes, and then his wife found. Let me ask you this,
man: is the roller coaster part of in the 4 record deals? Is it? I don't know how much time you've thought about it. I mean, you've only had 35, 40 years to mull it over.
Yeah, it's nothing in music biz time.
That's right. But do you think that? And I'm not joking. But the versatility of your interests, that, one day you're knocking on a door trying to get a bluegrass deal. The next day you're knocking on a door trying to get a country deal. The next day you're knocking on a door getting just a writing deal.
Next day I'm knocking on a door trying to get an opera deal.
I mean,
no, I'm kidding about that.
But you could.
No. I'm not. No, I can't sing opera now. Come on.
Hello?
I can't do that.
It's interesting because I know that whenever I've been on major labels, it feels like you have to put the brake on creativity at some.
It's interesting about that because this record that did come out finally, the one that I wrote most of it with John Leventhal, and he and Rodney Crowell produced it. I think with every record I was making, I thought, this is the one. This is it. But that record was just, it didn't, like the rest of my major label records, didn't catch on at radio. And I think to some extent after that, whenever I'd have a Nashville major label record, I would think, I mean, there was part of me, I think that, we all grew up listening to radio. So you think, you kind of get into your head too as a songwriter. It's like, I want to write those hit songs. I want these things to be on the radio. The thing that nobody knows is, but what are those and how does it happen? You know what I mean? Is it all like sometimes our hits, these backdoor, deals going on or something, where it's like, hey, now if you play this one, get in the radio, we don't know, or is a song. A guy told me a while back trying to explain things. It's like, now see, we have these, what was he call them? Not marketing meetings, but these deals
Focus groups or something.
Focus groups where you'd get a group of 5 people over a period of a year. You'd give them like a case of soft drinks or something to take home with them for volunteering to come in and rate a song between 1 lowest, 5 highest. And the songs that would come in the middle were the ones that they'd pick.
They don't want agitation.
Right. They don't want the things that, so.
They don't want you to love it.
Yeah.
Because in the next song, you'll miss loving it.
Yeah.
They don't want you to hate it because it's,
yeah.
When I found that out, I in my mind, I go, oh, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Because I only love 1s or 5s.
Right.
So do you.
Yeah.
And there's a thing, man, like being polarizing, like your voice, just like your songs. Okay, so I guess from my mind to put the puzzle together is like your song. Like I was telling you, they kind of throw your lyrics and your structure kind of throws curveballs that can be jarring.
Well,
but when George Strait sings it, nothing's jarring.
Right. Well, he's got that magic, you know. And
how did that all come about?
This record, Planet of Love, I did with John Leventhal and Rodney Crowell. Oh, and by the way, now see, it's all in the book. You know, in my book, I mentioned this about, no, I love that on TV when they're, you know, interviewing someone, they say, I explained that in the book. No, that's a good question. And in the new book as going, but it's,
is there a book?
I don't have a book. I'll never do a book.
No, I'll write it for you.
But anyway,
it's in the documentary.
Yeah, it's in the documentary. But that record,
there is a documentary.
There is.
Okay, go.
But
sorry.
no, it's all right. But Planet of Love came out, but it got delayed. It was like everybody was gung ho about it. It got delayed for various reasons for almost a year.
Was this in the mid '80s or?
When was it? 91.
So Leventhal was having success with.
He started too, with Sean.
With
Colvin.
Sean, yeah.
Right after,
and
that.
Rodney is coming off of that.
Yeah,
huge.
Rodney had
So you're thinking, okay,
I thought
I got this team.
Yes, and I just thought too, musically, that record
It is great.
It really, you know, those guys just crushed it on there.
Mm-hmm.
But so
and
I
you're
was
young, and boy, that cover shot, I'm telling you, buddy.
I had high hopes for that record, and then nothing was happening with it, and so I was pretty bummed. And then my publisher from Blue Water, getting back to Blue Water,
mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm so glad I signed a publishing deal with them, and got a call and said, hey, yesterday Tony Brown cut 2 songs on George Strait for this movie that George Strait's doing called Pure Country. So it's like, great. And that opened up all the doors, because I was living in Los Angeles still, commuting to Nashville, and I was a little too left of center. That was the comment they'd get on songs they'd try to pitch, but that gave me some acceptance.
Did you write Where the Sidewalk Ends and King of Broken Hearts all by yourself?
I wrote King of Broken Hearts by myself, and then Where the Sidewalk Ends was the first song John Leventhal and I wrote. And he was living in New York, and I'd known him. He was a great, like in this country scene in New York, he was just this awesome guitar player, and that would play with various people. And so he called me one time and he said, hey, I'm going to be in Los Angeles. Maybe we could get together and write a song. So I said, sure. So he had that title. And so this melody, Where the Sidewalk Ends and the Road Begins, came out. And then he said, we said goodbye on a cold, dark night. And then it kind of went back and forth like that. And then he sent me this cassette, you know, that was back in the days where we could, and it was this great demo that he'd done in his home studio where he played everything. And it was just, great, And so then he said, let's do this some more. We both said that. And so I was commuting back and forth to New York for a while, probably about a year. And we'd write. And like one day we were writing, for instance, and he said, well, we got any ideas? So I said, well, I've got some stuff on this cassette. So the song, I said, I found a new planet that only I can see. And he said, wait, what's that? I said, I'm not sure about that. But then we wrote this song called Planet of Love. And I really loved writing with John. I mean, he is just a brilliant guy and very literate too. His lyrics are great. His melodies are great.
Where the Sidewalk Ends, is that a reference to the book, or was that never even a part of the deal?
No, I didn't even know about the book at that time. I found out, and it wasn't even till for years later I found out about the book. And he didn't know about the book either.
But think about this, though. Just assuming that I thought that everybody knew that book. Maybe it's because of the time I grew up when that book was really popular, but it makes perfect sense that would be something that would be a part of your orbit because of the subject matter in Shell's work too. It's like, talk about left of center. I mean, it's funny that you thought it was kind of sideways them calling you left of center, but you kept the title of your song. I found a new planet.
Right.
I mean, that's a little to the left.
Well, and what John and I did, and I talk about this more in the book, but there's some great, really poignant stories in the book. Stuff. But that record, Planet of Love, is very, at that time, for that time especially, just kind of out there for a mainstream country album. However, we all thought it's like, hey, this song, this could be the first single, this could be the second single, etc. And it's like, well, gosh, we got 5 singles at least on here, but it just didn't translate.
It's funny when you go back and listen to it, and it sounds like what country sounded like in a few years from then.
So, but that happened a few times. Then I got with RCA for another deal, and that same thing. My songs didn't get, I didn't have hits. That was around the time that we were writing, was when this record called Whisper came out. And, but George Strait ended up cutting What Do You Say to That? And Joe Galante, who ran RCA, really dug that song, and he tried, but it was just,
well, it's just
something, and it for a while that stuff did kind of bug me. I just thought, what's wrong with me?
I was about to say, when did you begin to let all that go?
What are you beginning? What time is it now? But I think since then I've kind of just forgotten in some way. You know what I mean? It doesn't, and those things in life sometimes that really, just get under your skin or make you question everything. And then after time, it just goes by. But it's just part of being in the music biz,
Yeah, it's part of waking up every day and part of not giving up is giving up.
Right.
That's
right.
And it's not like you didn't find your wheelhouse that you helped build, the Americana world and this genre that you kind of helped create.
I feel like people, for some reason, they always pop into my head, but is Joe Ely, the guys in the Flatlanders, Jimmy Dale Gilmore, Butch Hancock, and Guy Clark. For some reason, those guys, to me, when you think about Americana, it's like those guys, you know. And then when you think about Delbert McClinton more, it's like, man, he was doing R&B and country. You know what I mean? And I think in a lot of ways that Americana thing is just kind of this, kind of means eclectic.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad they have that, because I was thinking at the time too, when they were first kind of getting things going with that back in about 94 or so, it gave a home.
I remember.
To you know what I mean? It was like,
it's been strange. It's been great over the past 20, 25 years. Because when Planet of Love and I had some records out at the time too, they would go to the top of the Americana chart or close to it or whatever. But the music arrived before the audience was there.
Right.
Like, it'd be number one for 4 weeks or whatever. And you'd still only sell a couple copies. And it's like, here's the church. Where are the people?
Right. Well, it's funny.
That's changed.
Yeah.
Drastically.
And I would joke with my friend Dusty Wakeman, who's a great bass player and friend and engineer. And we were talking about an Americana thing. And I was joking about it. And I said, oh, yeah, someday they're going to have like a festival and it'll be out in this field somewhere. And, and this person, that person, oh, yeah, they're going to have Americana's going to have like a big festival, and laughed, because I had no idea that there would really take off.
Well, that's part of what I'm talking about as far as, being a part of it from the ground up. And you're right, Joe and the Flatlanders and even Steve, it's at a lot of levels. And but when it comes to you, you can kind of tell the people that are that helped create and are in the wheelhouse where they're supposed to be and maybe always were supposed to be is that it's as if you were never not there.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of overreaching. I mean, transcendent is a little too big of a word when you're talking about a genre of music, but it's like, of course, Lauderdale, Joe, Delbert, Bonnie, Sean, Steve, Jim.
Well,
that's not really a question, and I don't expect you to
No, but it's funny. I talk about that kind of in more detail in the book. I bring up like when that kind of, impacted me.
I can't wait to read this book.
Well, I'll tell you what, I wish that I'd already finished it. Because I could be
maybe we can finish it tonight.
I'm plugging the future book.
What's the book going to be called?
And then I wrote. No, I'm joking. Willie had a record called And Then I Wrote. But boy, and I love him, man. Isn't that so great? Willie is,
dude, never ending.
He's just incredible.
Who I've really gotten into lately is Lucas.
Yes.
I remember seeing him maybe 15, 20 years ago on one of the late night shows. And I remember my critical self. I was, I knew everything then too. And I was like, that's really going to be good. It's going to be hard though. Like in my mind, I was like, he sounds a lot like his dad, and that's a pretty big shadow. And then I didn't hear anything from him for like 5, 7, 10 years. And then he came out with what he's doing now. I was like, he found it.
He's really,
He found it. He found a way to honor who he is and where he comes from, and also reach further beyond his grasp. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's in the book where you.
Well, I talk about a few gigs we had together back kind of before he, really took off.
Yeah, and you knew.
we actually did play. I had to follow him solo at this
Was he with his band?
Yeah. And but they had to take off. I think the deal was it was a real cool festival in Monterey, California. It was a Monterey Americana festival, and right
Where
next,
Lucas Nelson went electric.
No, he was already electric, but it was cool. It was it wasn't in the space where they had that Monterey Pop Festival, but it's still there,
right?
And but they had to. There was something with their schedules, like they had to split like right after their gig, and then I went on and did my solo gig, and so
introduced the band right away.
Yeah. But
so do you have a new record coming out?
I do. I do. Gosh, I'm not.
Let's talk about something that's actually finished.
I'm not very good. I'm not very good at promoting Jim, but I've got a record coming out August 26th, and it's called Game Changer, and I didn't call it that subliminally of like so that all of a sudden it would manifest itself.
Kind of like Super Country Hits.
Yeah, that's right. I did do a record called Super Country Hits, but and part of it was I thought, hey, it's just funny. It's funny because none of these songs have, they're not,
Right.
But I did think it's like, hey, now, these maybe some artist is their guitar player is gonna play it for them and say, hey, boss, you got to hear this.
You're reading
song.
The secret.
We got to cut this. And but finally, I guess 5 years ago, George Strait cut the song called Two More Wishes that I wrote with Odie Blackman, who I wrote most of that album with. And so finally,
that's a beautiful song.
But thank you. But this one, Game Changer, is a tune from the record. And the guitar player on it, Craig Smith, who used to live here a long time ago in Austin. He used to play with Sonny Sweeney.
Oh, yeah.
And he's from Scotland originally. And he lives in Nashville now and plays with Susie Boggess a fair amount too. But I love that B bender guitar. I just loved Clarence White's playing so much. And he does this solo on there that's just so cool, so tasteful. And I hadn't heard the B bender used quite that way. And let's see about that record. Lily Mae Rishi and her brother Frank Rishi do the harmonies on it. They're just great singers. I produced it with my friend Jay Weaver, who's playing bass. We've done, let's see, From Another World and Time Flies and Hope together.
Wow.
And great folks. Chris Scruggs on there, playing a bunch of guitar too. Will Van Horn is on steel, a few different steel players, Russ Paul. And I'm a big pedal steel fan. And sometimes I hear pedal steel licks twinned with guitar licks. And so the first song, the first single too, That Kind of Life, That Kind of Day, kind of came from this lick that came
I've
to
heard
me.
that about you.
And
I've heard that about you. That's funny. It's really cool that you'll basically sing the parts.
Yeah.
In the sessions.
A lot of times. Yeah. Sometimes I'm not hearing it, but sometimes they're, let's see. I wrote one with Mary Gaucher and Jamie Harris. That's a song called We're All We've Got, about how, in this kind of time, especially, and it just hits all of us, man, things are so heated out there. I mean, every day, I remember when we were thinking, it's like, oh gosh, I can't wait for 2020 to be done with this everything. And then it's done. And then it just keeps coming at us,
I remember when 2021 first started rolling, and I read somewhere, probably on my phone, that, isn't it funny? We thought a 21-year-old would act better than a 20-year-old. Just kind of like, man, it's just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah.
I hope not.
Unfortunately, and I'm not trying to be a, doom and gloom guy at all, but I think that it's just we have to get used to this stuff all the time.
Well, you got to learn how to adjust.
Yeah.
As whatever side you're on.
Yeah.
There's something coming at you, and you have to learn to adjust and make the moves that are effective.
Right. And the thing is, I think there has to be a point where, because it is like you and I, for instance, could be sitting here just having a great conversation, talking about music, maybe hearing something, maybe one of us is playing or whatever. And we're just like, it's going great. But then one of us might say some comment about, something, and the other person's like, oh,
you're one of them.
Oh, I see. And then that ruins everything. And then it just, and so that's kind of what the song, now I'm starting to talk about my record like it's a book, but that's what this song addresses in there, because really we do just have each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so why not get to that place where it's like, all right, you believe this, I disagree with you, but I still love you.
Right.
That's
why it's nice to be in situations where you can't just storm out.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about how you're gonna reply without giving up your integrity.
Right. Exactly. Like me, for instance. Now I've got a gig tonight.
You got to go.
But I'm not going to storm out of here because you and I aren't seeing eye to eye on everything. I'm not going to just
have a date.
I'm not going to take my microphone off and go, this interview's over.
Bye, Jim.
But now, and that wasn't a segue.
Hey, listen, man, but really, we should do this again sometime, because I would love to talk about, we didn't get into how you Car Wheels, you're singing all over those records, all the stuff, all the other.
Well,
you got to roll.
I'll address that briefly though about Car Wheels. I met Lucinda Williams in Los Angeles when I was talking about this great scene out there, and she was a big part of that, and so we became friends, and I started singing harmonies on her records and sitting in with her if she had a gig, and it was that kind of thing in LA too. It's like, hey, let's go see so-and-so tonight. It was a real community.
Right.
And then she did Car Wheels, and I got to sing on that, and then tour. She was very kind and had me in the band singing harmonies and opening up the shows for that tour. And I did that a lot on her next record, Essence, as well. And then after that, on this record, that record would come in and sing a song or two.
Fantastic.
It's I love Lucinda so much. I mean, she's...
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying. She's one of the greats.
And, around that time when we were writing, I had a record pretty much all done, and then I just thought, she set the bar so high, and I just thought, I've got to come up with something else. This isn't quite there.
It's interesting,
but she is.
That record did make I remember that we were touring when that record came, and
Yeah.
it was the record of that year.
Yeah.
It kind of made everybody go, "Oh, this is for real.
Yeah.
This can do a lot."
Right. And it sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey man,
Yeah.
thank you
Jack,
for coming.
thank you.
I appreciate it. I love getting to catch up.
Me too. Well,
And
let's
I
do.
really look forward to reading the book.
Well, thank you. Well, I'll tell you what, I know I was joking a lot about the book, but really in this Game Changer record that's coming out August 26th, that pretty much, it's like I really don't have to write a book. I mean, this is like a musical book.
Wow. Like
Yeah.
free to be you and me.
Yeah. But thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming out all the way.
Sure.
Your old home stomping ground, Bee Cave.
Bee Cave. Yeah.
You used to live here?
No, I
They
would
came-
stay here.
There you are.
Thank you for tuning in. Help us spread the word by hitting that subscribe button, leave us a comment and a 5-star review. Visit jackinraroundshow.com to access the most up-to-date show information, the upcoming release schedule, and links to the back catalog of episodes.